Hello and welcome back to my channel, Nerdysdollcreations. I'm Chris, and today I will be working on this dead tired Cleo De Nile doll. She's secondhand and she had some damage to her neck peg, which I repaired with UV resin. My inspiration was these rainbow ribbons that I found at Hobby Lobby. And as always, I will start by prepping her by taking off all of her accessories and her outfit, and then cutting her hair very close to the scalp with a sharp pair of scissors. And then finally removing all the stubble from the inside of her neck peg with a flat-bladed screwdriver and a pair of tweezers. These are locking tweezers, by the way, and they do a really good job of grabbing hold of the sticky glue and doesn't let go until I force it to let go, which is nice. I thought today would be a very good day for making a rainbow doll, as it is the end of Pride Month, and as an ally, I thought it was about time I made one. And you can see here I use those locking tweezers to get in there and get all that sticky bits of glue, and it works really well. Once she's completely clean, had a bath, I will paint her scalp with white because her hair will be white, and I don't want her scalp showing through that. And while it's drying, I went ahead and buffed her body with the nail buffer. This one was a little too harsh and it scratched her up more than I intended, which I didn't notice until after I was done shading her body. To make her hair, I used 100% acrylic yarn, which I carefully split out into each of its constituent parts, the 4 strands, and rerooted her using my homemade reroot tool. I also wanted to give her a hidden rainbow that it has to do with the people who are in the LGBTQ plus community who can't show their true colors. I wanted to give them a shout out and say, hey, we see you anyway, and we want you to have the same rights as everyone else. Once I got the colors rerooted there, I went ahead and finished the rest of her hair in white. Here it is, about halfway done. You'll be able to see the rainbow just peeking through the white, and I really wanted to make sure that all of the people who can't be seen, who are condemned for being who they are, we see you and we love you anyway. So to hold all these plugs in, I'm going to use my trusted Fabri-Tac glue, and I am going to squirt quite a lot of it in this head through the neck hole, and then swish it around with a Q-tip just to make sure that all the plugs are in there nice and safe. Once it's dry, I'm going to brush it out with a brush that is actually for pets. And once I have that completely brushed out, you'll see how you get a lot of fluff out of this. Once that's brushed out, I'll use my mini straight iron and hair straightener and make it really super soft and silky looking. You can see here all the fluff I got out of that, and there it is, all fluffy. And then I did notice that some of my paint came away, so be careful of that. Here I am just flat ironing a little bit of hair. I'm sorry I'm off camera, I'm trying to make sure you see what I'm doing there. And I will flatten iron her entire hair. There it is once it's all done, and as you twist it, you can see that hidden rainbow hair. I will put a link down below where I got the idea from. That's the official Rainbow Girl here on YouTube. I got the idea from. And now I'm going to use my Munyo soft pastels to figure out, to blush her body and then blush her face. Here I am just picking out some neutral colors. Since Cleo is very tan, not a strange, monster color. She's just a lovely tan color, I wanted to stick with that, and then use a little bit of a pink and a little bit of red, just to, where the parts of her would normally be pink and red. And here's where I figure out that I used a buffer that was just a little too rough. And you'll see, like on the back of her leg, where I got scratches, and that's exactly what you don't want. You can see later on her belly, later in the video, that those scratches are pretty prevalent right there. So I'm just using various shades to color her where normal shadows would be. In between her shoulder blades, down her spine, just all the normal spots where the natural shadows would be on her body. And then I use the lighter shades to highlight anywhere that would have highlights. I did color in her bottom of her feet. Those tend to be a little bit more red. So I used a redder shade of brown. And anything that would be light, I used the lighter shade and then white mixed in with it. And then just for the super highlights, like the collarbones, I did use more pure white there. And here she is, all done. Now I'm going to before I do her face, I'm going to reattach her head to her body. And I'm being super careful because, like I said, her neck is already broken and I needed to be careful. So after a couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear, which I also used on the body, by the way, I went ahead and started using the same colors as I used on her body to shade in her face. We gave her some nice dark brown eyeshadow area and some lighter colors, for the highlights. And again, just this following the natural shading of a face. I wanted her makeup look to be really quite natural. I didn't want to go super crazy. She does have a lovely winged eyeliner because every doll needs lovely winged eyeliner. You'll see that later as I get into drying her face. But for the most part, I just stuck with super natural looking colors. And again, these are the Muño soft pastels. I found those on Amazon. And I am shading her pretty heavily. I really want to make sure that any transition from dark to light is as smooth and unnoticeable as possible. And actually off camera I do a lot more of that, and then I spray her. And I actually did 2 layers of shading on this doll, just to make sure that she looked as smooth and natural as possible. And here I'm using a fluffier brush just to blend everything out. And before I Mr. Super Cleared, I actually went in with the white and started in on the whites of her eyes. And I did draw her face on with a lighter pencil and recorded it, but for some reason I've lost that footage. So I'm going back over it with the black now because I had everything the way I wanted. I'm using this nice kind of corally red sort of color to do the waterline and the inner corners of her eyes. I actually end up using that also for her lips because, again, I didn't want anything too flashy for her makeup look. I just wanted her to kind of have that appearance of, hey, I'm here and I'm going to a rally, or I just want people to notice and what makes me me, rather than a super flawless makeup look. I used a darker red to her lips, and then I used the even darker red to put in the lip lines, as well as a white to highlight those. And I'm sorry I didn't get a super close-up of this. It kept going blurry when I tried, so I do apologize, but that is as good as I could get, as close as I could get without it going super blurry. And I tried giving her gray eyes, and you'll notice here in a little bit that this just simply did not work out very well. It looked very strange with her skin tone. So instead, you'll see here in a little bit that I went to black eyes and then highlighted it with a steel blue color. This pencil I'm using right here is a pastel pencil. I don't remember if I show you, but it is wonderful for doing the whites of the eyes. Is, you know, one layer and it shows up right off. Unlike the watercolor pencils, they don't show up, and it takes 12, 15 layers before you ever get anything close to resembling white. As you can see right here, I'm using the gray, still fighting, trying to get it to work. And right here, you'll see is where I finally gave up and went straight to a kind of a charcoal gray color. And then around the pupil, I used that blue-gray color, that steel blue color, which actually made her eyes look quite striking, really. And here I'm using that darkest red to put the lines in her lips. I got a little carried away, so here's the eraser. And one more pass with that lighter coral color that I also used for the waterline of her eyes. And the white, this one is the Derwent. All the color pencils I'm using, or watercolor pencils I'm using, are Derwent watercolor ones. And that white in her eyes was done with that Pit pastel white pencil. Just a little bit of blending there with a Q-tip, or cotton swab, I guess I should say. There it is, Pit pastel. And then to do the shading of her eyes, where she would naturally have a darker area at the top being shaded by her eyelashes, I used the Pit pastel charcoal black pencil and just lifted pigment up with a really cut down brush. Some really nice wispy eyelashes on the bottom lash line. For those who want to know what I'm doing, I'm actually drawing like little triangles with a line through the middle to give her that nice wispy look, using the Aquarelle Faber-Castell black pencil. It holds a sharper point for longer. It's a little bit harder lead in it, which is really nice for doing tiny lines. And just once again, just repeating all the same steps as before, and giving her the little white lights in her white lines in her eyes, and the white lines on her lips, and there she is. I'm using an acrylic paint pen to put the whites in her eyes, and of course she needs a beauty mark, because most of my dolls usually have a beauty mark somewhere. And to give her the best highlights I could find, I went with these Aurora Pignets by Born Pretty Store, and this one's just from blue to green, And I'm just highlighting just across her cheekbones, top of her cheekbones. And it's a little hard to see. Also on the bridge of her nose, as it shifts, you'll see that it changes from. And here I'm using a no wipe top gel that is actually nails to finish off her eyes and lips, and then use my UV lamp to cure that. I find this way of glossing her eyes and lips to be the easiest. I tend to make a mess using the Liquitex varnish, and I've ruined more than one face up using that. I do her lip, and then I do one eye, and then I do the other eye, and cure each one in between to try to avoid making a mess. And here you see I am attempting to add some lashes to her. I will cut these down. These are actually for humans. I believe it's by Wet n Wild. And I glue one corner and let that set, and then glue the other, and then once they were completely dry, I went ahead and trimmed those down. I don't want them too long. And now we can finally see how her face looks with her hair. And if you'll remember, her hair was white, so this is really striking. And being wrapped up as long as it was, her hair needs a bit of a comb out. And who knows what got into it there. I clean up any pastels that may have gotten into her hairline with my comb. Give her a nice comb out. You can see the rainbow there. Here's her skirt that I made. A little snap in the back and a ribbon to keep it down where it belongs. Her halter top. And her shoes I just repainted with white. I didn't end up using the little cloud hairpin. I thought the rainbow was enough. I made that little rainbow in a jar for her. That video is up on my other channel. And here's some final photos. She is all dressed up, decked out with her little rainbow anklet and bracelet. I went ahead and repainted her choker. It was purple, and I went ahead and made it so it was holographic. So a kind of hidden rainbow. Same with her earrings. They were purple, and I went ahead and put the hollow powder on it. There's just some final shots of her. And I hope you like her as much as I did. I think she turned out quite nice. And if you have any questions about something I've done, please leave them in the box below. And we will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.